What up, what up? It's your homie Mac, music, art, culture, and knowledge, reporting live from the Dogon. That's what I call this space, the Dogon. I'm really excited today, man. People that know me know I'm a pretty chill dude, but this man is an intellectual giant, and I mean that wholeheartedly. This brother, I knew I had to go read some books before he came up over here. You know what I'm saying? So, homie Ron, you want to introduce yourself?
What's up, Ron Pugh? A lot of y'all know me from work or whatever, but just here to share some jewels and hopefully learn some stuff today too. So
okay,
so you chop it up.
Yeah. So we in the midst of a pandemic cycle, my brother. A lot of things about our country have been exposed. I mean, you already knew it, but I think it's kind of spilled over into greater society. More people are starting to understand, like, there's a lot of systemic issues our country has, specifically as far as racism, as far as police brutality. I'm seeing like for the most part, it seems like it's sincere, but I feel like I see a shift in consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like more people are paying attention to systemic issues, paying attention to institutional racism, paying attention to just the crimes against humanity that our country has done. And again, specifically police brutality. Rayshard Brooks was actually murdered 5 minutes from where we are now. So that I mean, it hits closer to home when you can identify a space, or you know what I'm saying. You can relate to it. It's more relatable. And the thing that I keep hearing a lot of, I would say, right-wing conservatives say, "What about black on black crime? What about black on black crime?" So I want to get. Oh yeah, if you can't put your phone on silent. Yeah, but that seems to be the checkmate move that I see a lot of white supremacists, a lot of conservatives. That's the angle they go. Right. And I've always felt like basically when you say that, all you're saying is, well, damn, black people kill each other. Why can't we kill y'all? Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
With that, man, mainly what I think about, I read a book one time. It's called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And I think I've seen it on your page once or twice.
Dr. Joy.
Yeah, and I actually had the opportunity to sit in on one of her live sessions or whatever. Well, a friend of mine hooked me up with some tickets so I can get in there and take a listen.
Wow.
And it was powerful what she was talking about. Because the two things that stuck out to me mainly was cognitive dissonance. And she didn't actually say it, but as black people, our ability to disassociate ourselves from what's been going on for years, the hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, we killed each other. True, that happened.
Right.
But during slavery, it happened more frequently. And I think what a lot of people forget about is that I would like to compare it to, or say it's like we sit here and we tell our children that they're being made a certain type of way because of their experiences.
Right.
Whether it be video games, movies, hanging around different neighborhoods or whatever, so forth. But we justify their actions because of that. Mm. But the disconnect that comes in with us in that type of situation is, over 400 years, we witnessed our own brothers and sisters being murdered at the hand of so many different other people. We were murdered by Arabs. We were murdered by Spaniards. We've been murdered by the Caucasian. We've been murdered by ourselves. True. So it's not something new, but what you have to learn or look at deeper in that situation, you have to see that there's a disconnect where once you've seen that go on so often in your neighborhood, it's nothing for you to see a black man beaten.
So you just desensitized.
You desensitized to the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you desensitize to the whole thing, rape and all that, it's bad. All those things, yeah, they're bad. Right. But it's been happening so much, we've become desensitized to that whole situation.
Wow.
So how is it that you can justify it now in 2020 and not go back and look over 400 years and expect the people to say, okay, well, this is something new? No, it's been going on. Right. It's been happening, and it's not going to stop. Because there has to be a breaking point.
Right.
And I actually believe that this breaking point may come in this whole COVID situation.
A lot.
Yeah, it exposed a lot. And like you were saying, when we first started out here, the situation is bad. But if you go back and you look at points in history, our greatest turning points came when people were forced to be closer together. or forced to depend on each other. That was the one thing that we had going into the civil rights movement. The children, men, women, and children on our side were all connected at some point. They might have been working on different aspects of the same movement, but they were still working in the same direction.
Right.
And I think that this is forcing everybody to sit back and become aware. You know, like biblically, you would say, you know, the valley of the bones or the valley of the dead. Well, yeah, you can be woke in the valley of the dead. Now you got to learn how to do something about it. You know, a lot of people walking around saying, well, we're going to wake people up. Well, the people are woke. Now they have to become aware that they're woke in order to do something.
So you got to be conscious of your consciousness.
Yeah, consciousness is an act in itself.
Right.
You can be conscious and still not be aware that you're conscious.
Okay.
You know, people just get into the rhythm of going to work every day, and it becomes routine. The conversations that you have, they stay within this bubble, and that bubble has dynamics in it that will force you to stay in that bubble and not think outside of it.
That's right.
You'll die in that bubble. You'll die in that bubble. So, you know,
that's major.
there's just some things to think about, man. I think that if we as we progress, you know, through this whole COVID situation, what's going on in the street with the black on black crime, as we progress down the road, you'll start to see more groups pop up that are willing to work together and be able to accept differences. You know,
that's major.
And work towards goals. You know, we can set goals for ourselves and then turn back and deal with the problems of, you know, the conversation about the black on black crime. The conversation that I had when I was at work or even out in the streets now, I see that people miss the whole fact that the cops are people just like us. You know, and we get out here and we wheel down the cops. I'm not saying that all cops are bad, and not saying all cops are good, but I am saying that these cops work for somebody. And and the way the system is set up, what people miss is the biggest part of that is these cops have quotas. We know that the quotas exist. You know, and there's nothing. The cops will tell you that these quotas exist.
So break that down a little further with the quota thing. So by you saying quota, what are you alluding to?
Quotas, just like speeding. You know, everybody knows. You know, you hear the buzz, and it's the end of the month. The cops out.
So it's not even about justice. It's just about them trying to find a certain number to show their productivity, right?
My biggest thing, and it's my opinion.
Okay.
Justice is backed by laws that are based on the perception of whoever's running stuff's reality. It's based on their reality. Wow. So law, you hear people say, well, the law back 60, 70 years ago, you could go into a situation, they say, well, it's okay for you to be segregated, or for you to not serve a certain person because of who they were as a person. Right. And now it's not accepted. That was a law of the people. That was their reality at that time. People mindset changed. They have these big events.
So law don't mean right.
No, law doesn't make
it doesn't even. Law doesn't even necessarily even have a moral premise.
It doesn't. Morality in itself is based on perception. What's moral? If you don't see anything wrong with it, who am I to come into your reality and tell you you're wrong? Right. We have an agreement to exist in the same space. That's all it is. I told one of the brothers at work one time, I said, you know, he was, you know, talking about his knowledge that he was gaining. I said, you know, the crazy part about that is your reality is based on mine. It's a symbiotic relationship. Okay. As long as I allow you to sit here and feel like you're feeling, then you're going to feel that way until I challenge you in your reality. So it's nothing is.
I'm about to go back and watch this a couple times. Well, go ahead. Yeah, that's. So I never thought about that.
Yeah, if you sit back and you think about it, you know, people say, "Oh, I feel this way and I feel this way." Oh, okay, that's great. Until I challenge you in your reality. Now I have to make you're thinking outside of that bubble, that spectrum that you've been taught. Right. You know, and that applies across the board, math, science, wherever you want to take it. Science, they'll say is 99 elements as we know it. Right. That's all they know. So what else exists outside of that? As we know it implies there is something else. You don't know it all. Yeah. So, you know, and people don't get outside their bubble, they get confined into a box. You know, and we learn that. That's a learned behavior. Definitely. Yeah, from grade school, they teach you to respond to the bell. They'll tell you to go to a class, and we may be going off topic, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, but they'll say, hey, go in the classroom, and the teacher will give you a book, and in that book is someone's perception of what really happened. But the teacher doesn't go by the book because they write their own notes on the board. Right. And then what they'll tell you to do is take your notebooks out, and you write down the teacher's perspective. So when you go home to study, you're 3 times removed from the truth of what really happened. And it's all based on perceptions. You go to church is the same concept. Yeah. You go to a job, it's the same concept. How many of us go to work every day and that we don't break half the rules that they tell us not to do just to get the job done?
So it's a lot of conditioning going on.
It's conditioning, and to tie it back, that conditioning applies to these cops and in some of these situations, like the recent situation with the guy that got shot at the Wendy's, right?
Yeah.
You think about it. This cop had that people say morality. He should have more moral. He should have been discerned. There should have been discernment. But you put discernment on somebody's job, and guess what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen?
They're gonna be sitting home. They're gonna be sitting home, and they're gonna be taking care of their family. They're gonna think family first. You go to the job. You put yourself in some of these police officers' shoes, and you say, okay, my job depends on these numbers now. So that takes morality out of my choices. So do I want this guy that's barely drunk, do I let him go? Or do I meet this quota? And am I determined to deal with the reality that I might lose my job if I don't meet this quota enough? So now you're pitting the two against each other. So you ask yourself that question, who's the cause of the problem? Is it the program that this cop is running or operating by? Or is it society?
Let me interject. I'm a big fan of Dr. Amos Wilson.
Okay.
And he spoke to the fact that a lot of us in our struggle for liberation, we've always attacked this from a moral standpoint. Right. When it's really not. It's an economic issue.
It totally is.
You know, it is economic. And one of the things that he had said was that we live in a crimogenic society.
Right.
So crime is big business. And it's like, and this has always been my contention. Capitalism cannot exist without someone losing. You have to have a group of people that are criminalized, that are impoverished, because that's a currency for the greater power structure. You know what? You got the prison industrial complex. Like, it makes no sense that we make up 13% of this country's population, and well over half of the prison population. Right. And then they're saying that specifically in context of black men, there are more black men incarcerated in America than women of all races globally. That's insane. So it's like, it's almost like, and I hate to say this, but it's almost like it's a bad business move to fix the problem.
It is. It goes back to, in my opinion, it goes back to one thing. People don't see stuff globally. We've been taught to think here, America. Right. It's like when I had a conversation with a guy at work one time, and I asked him, you know, he's a well-educated brother, and I said, hey, look, let me ask you a simple question. What's the difference between a Mexican? No, I asked him, is a Mexican an American?
What did he say?
And he said no, because they're in Mexico.
But where do they live, though?
Exactly. So that was the point I was trying to make to him. And when we got to that point, it was like his mind just got opened up because he only thinks here. So I applied it across the board, and I think about, you know, people say, well, America was built on the backs of slaves. No, the world was built on the backs of slaves.
Wow.
If you go back to Egypt, Egypt just wasn't built by everybody being kumbaya and being together. and the craziest part about that, brother, listen to this now, the craziest part about that is Egypt didn't have any fences either. There was nobody contained in Egypt. There weren't any fences in Egypt.
They didn't have no type of barrier?
No barrier. For what? It was free come as you go. It was a trading place.
True. Yeah.
Egypt was a compilation of nations built along the Nile that flew under one flag. And that's basically the blueprint for civilization. If you go back and you look at it, to break it down, if you have these nations that come together and they all have their own individual flags.
Okay.
But they agree and they're brought together by this superpower or this one group of people, ruling power, that says, look, y'all get to keep your individuality. When it's time to rumble or when it's time for us to do business, we do it under this one flag.
Yeah. But let me play devil's advocate. Is that not colonization?
It is.
Okay.
Well, it is and it isn't.
Okay.
It's like if you go back and you research Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great didn't want to colonize anybody. He just wanted control. See,
isn't that what colonization is?
No, not necessarily, because it's one of those things when if you listen to or read his story, you go and review his story, you'll see he'll say, hey, I'm coming in, I'm just gonna let y'all do whatever y'all been doing. Just so long when it's time to fight, I need your numbers.
So allies.
Exactly.
I need your allegiance.
Right.
Okay.
I need your numbers.
I'm not trying to control you.
Yes, you do, because then that breeds a totally different beast. But if I can get you to think that you still have your own independence, it's perception. Your perception of reality. So I get all you want to do is just come in You're going to fix our roads, and it's the same thing that they do here. You're going to come in, you're going to fix our roads, you're going to give us housing, you're going to give us running water, you're going to give us all these things. The key word in there is give us. Because once you give somebody something so much, they become dependent on you. And their reality becomes a dependent mentality in that reality.
Let's dig deeper into that. So make that parallel with the black community.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you expound on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. We talk about affirmative action, and we talk about which welfare and all these things. And to be on point with that, affirmative action works better for white women than it does for.
Elbow bar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I've seen that before in the community I live in. I don't know if you're familiar with what just happened with the lady at the hotel. It was on Facebook. She was in the hotel and she went out and approached the lady about the pool.
No, what happened?
Well, she basically went out and profiled and said, well, you guys can't be here. She questioned this black lady and her 2 children, even though the lady produced a card saying that.
Is she still?
She called the cops on her.
After she showed proof?
And the cops came in and was doing the same thing.
Wow.
Right? So, in situations like people get used to having stuff. And to have that conversation, I want to lead into it. I know you probably heard me say this at work before.
Mm-hmm.
With young black men, with old black men, if you look at the basic functions of a man, is to protect and to provide. Right?
Right.
If you go to a job every day and that job gives you dividends to provide for your family, ask yourself the question, if the dividends didn't come, like the situation we're in, if the money started to dry up, can you really protect and provide for your family? Or are you really dependent on someone else? Can you go to the grocery store? Can you grow your own food? That takes you back to the basis of being a man, which ties back to what I was saying. You are a dependent. You just have an opportunity to provide for yourself. There's a difference between having an opportunity to provide for yourself
and creating your own.
Because then once you create your own, now nobody can control you because they can't say, hey, look, see those